Welcome back to another episode of Charlie Brown Politics. I am your host, Charles Brown. Today, I want to continue talking about Dr. Cornel West. After releasing my last video about him, some more information has come to my attention. Some more unfortunate information. So not only has he promoted Peter Dow, aka Peter Douche, aka Peter Douche, the water boy for the Democratic Party, to his campaign manager, he has also had an unfortunate history of supporting some people that you could say don't have the same beliefs as people like me on the left, as people like Cornel on the left would hold. People like Bill Bradley, Obama, Biden, okay? Okay, so with that being said, I want to look at a compilation of some articles and a video that's going to put some unfortunate support and decisions that Cornel has had throughout the past. And this isn't to dog on Cornel, this isn't to put him as a bad person. It's just he is running for president. He is leading a movement that we all believe in. And so these things, I feel like, just need to be brought to light. And need to be talked about. So this first article that I'm going to be bringing up is from Jacobin, and it's going to be just kind of discussing this Bill Bradley person that Cornel supported, and a little bit more about like where he comes from and stuff like that. So with that, let's get right into it, shall we? All right, the Democrats didn't just fail to defend social programs, they actively undermined them. What would become the new Democrats burst onto the national political scene with Gary Hart, a Colorado senator who shocked everyone by winning the 1984 Democratic presidential primary in New Hampshire. He was known as the yuppie candidate, I don't know how to say that word, of that area, and he was also known as a leader of a cohort that included Bill Bradley. So this is the part that I want everyone to remember. All the stuff about Gary didn't matter. This is the part that matters. This Bill Bradley is in a group with this Gary guy. So let's continue. Leader of a group of cohort, that included Bill Bradley, Michael Dukakis, Al Gore, Paul Tsongas, and Tim Worth. A cohort called Atari Democrats, a name given to them for their emphasis on reorienting the Democratic politics toward a high-tech future. But before they were Atari Democrats, they were the Watergate babies. So that's what I want you to focus on, this group that Bill Bradley was a part of. The Atari Democrats / Watergate babies. All right. And they were all men elected to Congress in the wake of Richard Nixon's impeachment. Who were the Watergate babies, and how did they become the Atari Democrats? The Watergate babies arrived on the scene in the aftermath of Watergate and Nixon's resignation in the 1974 election. That title is inaccurate in some ways. They weren't really running against Republicans. It was more about the older version of Democrats. The group was mostly white men in their 30s and 40s who represented middle-class suburban districts. They ran on the effort to clean up Congress, and they were against the older dynamics of the Democratic Party, especially its focus on bureaucracy and also its negotiation style. So this is where it's starting to come together. This is starting to form what type of group, and Democrats, this Atari Democrat, this Watergate baby Democrat is, okay? And it's not necessarily running against Democrats, they're running against old Democrats, meaning FDR Democrats. So keep that in mind. Let's keep rolling. They also felt the party becoming too beholden to what they call special interest, including, although they were evasive about this, including groups of people of color in the feminist movement, but they were especially upset about the Democratic Party's ties to organized labor and felt that this relationship was dragging the party down. So this is where it gets important, okay? This Bill Bradley guy comes through a Democratic group that is against organized labor, that is against, I guess, groups of people of color in the feminist movement, and just not against working class and poor. It seems like. So you're starting to get in the picture a little bit more. Let's go on to another article that's going to get into a little bit more about Bill Bradley. Counterpunch: the inflation of the dollar bill Bradley. It's one of the marvels of the season that Bill Bradley has been able to muster to his cause such bankable liberal names such as Senator Paul Wellstone, Professor Cornel West, Robert Reich, and the editor of The Nation, Katrina Vandered Heuvel. I'm sorry. This passion for Bradley is strange. After all, Bradley is a man who flirted with the idea of running for presidency in 1996 on an independent ticket with Colin Powell. Excuse me. Lately, Al Gore has been tagging Bill Bradley as a free-spending liberal of the kind that the vice president and Bill Clinton worked so tirelessly to extirpate from the party, and that means to get rid of the party. There isn't much substance to this charge. Indeed, on the big issues, trade, labor, defense, crime, healthcare, and the environment, Bradley and Gore are pretty much indistinguishable. And that's the part that I really want to drive home, that Bill Bradley and Al Gore, there was no difference. They're both neoliberals. They were both war hawks. They both supported, all the things that a typical leftist would be against. And so that's the point of these articles that I'm trying to drive home here. And this next article is just going to go into the proof that Cornel supported this guy back in the day. It's from the New York Times. Bradley and Gore's campaign split Harvard's top black scholars. Coatless, in air so frigid that each warm word condensed into a white cloudlet as it left his mouth, Cornel West preached before a Faneuil Hall marketplace crowd of several hundred, pounding on syncopated syllables. Let the word go forth from this historic place here and now that Bill Bradley is on the move. He is on the move. And that we are there with him, beside him, around him, because we are fundamentally dedicated to keeping alive the best of the democratic tradition, and Bill Bradley is a president who best embodies that. He enacts that. He, in fact, provides the presidential gravitas necessary to take this nation into the 21st century. Let me say that again. Presidential gravitas. So that's Cornel praising Bill Bradley, this guy who we have shown in the articles is no separate from Al Gore and this neoliberal, this idealism that hasn't really supported working class and the poor. So that's just one example. Let's go on. Now, I want to talk about Cornel and his view on Gaddafi, the person that ran Libya before we overthrew it. And so if you don't know, the media really demonized Gaddafi. They put him as this evil dictator. And if you look into it and get into the roots of the story, that could be further from the truth. He actually ran Libya in a very surprisingly awesome way that supported the poor and gave people health care and good jobs and made things affordable. I believe a lot of people had, if not everybody had houses. So let's look at this tweet that Cornel West said about Gaddafi real quick. Easy to demonize Gaddafi because he's been a tyrant for so long. Should have been the same initial sentiment for Mubarak. All right. So this is Cornel West. It's not that he's a bad person for falling prey to the propaganda that we all fell to. Okay, no. But it's just another, piece to the pile to add, right, of his history of supporting the wrong people, being on the wrong side of history. So let's read a little bit more about Libya. I got some article pulled up here. Gaddafi's Libya was Africa's most prosperous democracy. Contrary to popular belief, Libya, which Western media described as Gaddafi's military dictatorship, was in actual fact one of the world's most democratic states. In 1977, the people of Libya proclaimed that Jamahiriya, or government of the popular masses by themselves and for themselves. The Jamahiriya was a higher form of direct democracy with the people as president. Traditional institutions of government were disbanded and abolished, and the power belonged to the people directly through various committees in Congress. That sounds pretty sweet to me. Let's keep going. Muammar Gaddafi inherited one of the poorest nations in Africa. However, by the time he was assassinated, Libya was unquestionably Africa's most prosperous nation. Libya had the highest GDP per capita and highest life expectancy in Africa, and less people lived below the poverty line than in Netherlands. Damn. Libya did not only enjoy free healthcare and free education, they also enjoyed free electricity and interest-free loans. The price of petrol was around 0.14 per liter, and no, I don't know what that is in gallons. And 40 loaves of bread cost just 15 cents. Consequently, the UN designated Libya the 53rd highest in the world in the human development. So this is just giving, some more information on what Libya actually was. And my point of all of this is to just show that, that Cornel has fallen prey to another side of propaganda. And I'm not doing this to say that he's a bad guy, but he is our president. And so if you have a history of falling to propaganda or whatever, you have to be able to see through the muck if you're going to be running for president, if you're going to be leading our movement, is my only my only issue there. And so with that, I just want to show you guys another thing on Cornel, and this is going to be an interview he had back in the day on Charlie Rose, and he's going to be talking about Bosnia. Now, I will admit, Bosnia is a little bit out of my realm. I was only about 2 or 3 years old when this exchange happened, so I'll be the first to admit I don't know the details of Bosnia. I know it's a horrific thing where a lot of people died, but with that being said, I guess I don't know the details, but I'm willing to guess that the U.S. had their hand involved, and somehow the U.S. Probably there's some blame with us being there. So just keep that in mind. Let's listen to what Cornel wanted to do in Bosnia back in the day, and we'll react after that.
Stop you there in terms of your Christian soul. Where do you should the United States, in some call of justice and morality and being on the side of all that is good, say to the world, we will not stand by and allow this?
In Bosnia?
Yes.
Yes, should have done it a year ago.
With American military leading the way.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And make the argument, though, when people say it's a quagmire, it'll suck you in and never let you go, and will create division in this country like we've never seen before if American men and women are dying there in a way that our leaders cannot clearly articulate the national interest albeit how incredibly obscene and vicious and undescribable the crimes.
Yes, but see, I would argue that that one does not fight Hitler based on national interests. You don't fight apartheid based on natural interests.
You fight it on the basis of what?
You fight it on the basis of, one, it being wrong, two, of it destabilizing the region, leading toward wider conflict, and three, allowing brutes and tyrants to get away with such gross dehumanization, such ugly behavior toward others on all three levels. And I think if we had done this about 12 months ago, we could have done it simply with either airstrikes and making symbolic gestures saying we will not allow it.
You mean even
now, at this point, of course, we're talking about long-term investment. We're talking about American soldiers and so forth. So you're absolutely right. It
and
makes
some
it a
say it'll
much more
take
difficult.
200,000 or 300,000.
Some say even 500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, some.
All right, so that's what I wanted to show. This video of Cornel saying that back in, I guess it was the early 90s, we should have sent, up to possibly 500 million, 500,000, sorry, not 500 million, 500,000 troops over to Bosnia. And he thought that, the cause was worth American lives, which I'm not going to sit here and try to say he's a bad person for that. But did he fall prey again to propaganda, to this narrative that the U.S. always has that the other side has a Hitler and we have to send troops over there to stop it? Like I said, I'll be the first to admit I don't know the details of Bosnia, or I've looked at it a little bit, but if I had to guess, it's probably like Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Ukraine, where it's not to what the mainstream media is telling us. So my critique is, Cornel, he obviously says that he's anti-war, but if the media is portraying someone as a Hitler, and it could definitely be wrong. Look at what they're doing to Putin right now. They're calling him the next Hitler. How many times have we had to hear this from Saddam Hussein to Gaddafi that we just went over to, and the Gaddafi thing was a whole lie. The state of Libya is in a terrible state after what the U.S. did to it. It's been a failed state ever since, and a lot of very tragic stuff has happened, and obviously recently some tragic stuff has happened, so my thoughts and prayers are always with Libya. But as my point is, you got to have these credentials in hard times. You got to be able to see through the muck, especially if you're going to be running the country. If you have a history of falling prey to propaganda, supporting the wrong people, Bill Bradley was not the first person, or was not the last person, I should say. He fell prey to Obama, which I'll cut him a pass. A lot of us fell prey to Obama. I cut him a little bit of a pass because Chris Hedges did not fall prey to Obama. He looked at, the fact that Obama was receiving a lot of corporate donations, something that a lot of us should have done back in the day. So I'll let Obama pass a little bit, but then he, supported Biden, and he has come back and admitted that he's wrong on that, and that takes a big man. So I give him credit on that, and you can change and see the light on all these issues, but if you have this history of just falling trapped to the propaganda and not always being on the right side of history, it needs to be shown. It needs to be said. And I'm not doing it to dog on Cornel. I really do have respect for the man. He has taught me a lot on so many issues. But with that being said, these things do need to be talked about. Something else that that he's been on the wrong side of was his praise for Fauci. I'm not going to get in on the details of that because we're on YouTube, and I want to have a channel, so. But he praised Fauci, and so when I hear that, that tells me that he fell prey to the back during the lockdowns when it wasn't about science, but it was about politics. It was about partisanship. If Fauci was good, Trump was bad, pretty much, and if you if you looked deeper, it was more complicated than that, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So with that being said, I just wanted to bring to light Cornell's history of not always being on the right side of things, and yes, before people say he has been on the right side of a lot of things, and absolutely yes, and credit to him for that. But like I said, he's running for president, so the negatives need to come to light as well. What are you guys thinking on this? What else am I missing here? Something else that's been shouted out to me in my comments is that third parties, are designed to pretty much support the political system that we have, and they're counteractive to our, so to say, to our movement. And the arguments, I see the arguments for that, and it's slowly adding up. I'm not totally sure if I'm fully on board with this, but with that, I just, I want to reiterate that politicians, people at the top, are not going to be the answers. It's not. There's not a savior. There's no one coming to help us. This help from the government is not going to come. So what do we have to do? We have to do mutual aid. We have to look to our friends and family. We have to help one another. We have to start supporting our local farmers, our local businesses, our local communities. Get our hands in the dirt, put your feet on the ground, go out there and fucking do something to help out one another. And that's really our answer. So with that, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that people say at the end. Yeah, and let me know what you're thinking about Cornell and all this information, all that shit. With that, guys, I will catch you on the next episode of Charlie Brown Politics. Later.